Admiral Nelson once said, "If you can sail around Anglesey, then you can sail around the world."
Another group, and then we can say what matters, I should say. And the questions are a little bit different, but they're all around.
Anglesey. Quiet, beautiful, just stunning. And I can tell you from my personal experience of this place that beyond all the beauty of the island and the stunning seas that surround it lay some of the most troubled and dangerous waters in the UK. In this short documentary, I take you to some of the most dangerous sailing locations in Anglesey, hoping to dispel some of the myths and tall stories that put off the amateur sailor, showing you that despite the danger, if we plan, choose the right times and stay vigilant, then Anglesey can be navigated safely, giving us access to her secrets and her true beauty. So here we are, Holyhead, our first stop, but we're not quite in Holyhead just yet. We've just come above the hills here, and if you see that little castle ruin there and this building here, this is where the spit, or the breakwater as they call it here, starts, and we're going to actually try and get on there to have a little look at that. As usual, trusty Mabel the camper van's with us, and if you look inside, I brought my mountain bike with me today. That's because Holyhead, a lot of this northwestern corner, there's no roads, it's ill accessible. So when we want to get to the stacks, also Carmel Head, the roads just run out. So it's a little bit far to walk maybe with time constraints today. So I brought the bike so we can get around quite easily. Hopefully you're allowed to use the bike on the footpaths here. We'll have to double check that. We've got plenty to do today, loads of places to go. I want to try and get as much of the island in as possible, get a look-see at as much of it as I can, and I want to look at that sea. So we've also brought both drones today so we can get the drones out and have a good look at the sea, have a peep around, and hopefully give novice sailors like me a little bit of a real oversight on what conditions can be like today. Before we set off, we'll just do a quick check of the weather today. So as thought, XC weather is telling us it's a fresh wind today. We're looking at the moment at Holyhead, a solid northeasterly, 18 mile an hour, gusting to 28. So that is perfect. Not so perfect for the drone. We'll have to be careful, won't we, with the drone in these conditions. And that's miles per hour, by the way, so we need to convert that into knots. I'll put that up on the screen now, but it's, to me, that's a decent sort of 4 to 4.5, so yeah, really good. Hopefully we'll see some of these sort of overfalls that they keep talking about. Right, let's get ourselves out and have a look at this breakwater. We're very, very covered in here. All these bushes are quite high and giving us a lot of cover from the wind, but as we turn around here, yeah, you can start to feel that breeze coming in. And now this says it's private land, but there's also a footpath here, so we're good to go. Firstly, this is about slack water now, so a lot of what we're seeing now is the wind action on the water only, and you can see that clearly inside the harbour it's a lot calmer than outside of the breakwater. In fact, the sea here can get fairly rough in the wrong conditions, and we haven't even got to the difficult bits yet. If we poke our nose over towards North Stack here, you can see that although we're quite a long way away, there's not an awful lot going on, but we would expect that if the tide is slack. So a good little start there. Tide's definitely turned now, so we're in the first hour of the flood. And so far so good, haven't seen anything untowards. Even a look over at North Stack, which you could see. Doesn't seem to be anything going on there either at the moment. So let's get back down to the Holyhead Marina and have a good look at the sea from there. So this is Holyhead Sailing Club, and there are lots of lovely boats like this. And then there's lots of other boats, ranging from small little dinghies to all kinds of boats, really. I didn't realise they'd have all this space here, actually. One thing we want to do here is to have a little look at the slipway here, but also look at the state of the sea. Now, the sea here is quite calm because, you know, even in a northerly, this breakwater here, or the spit as I'm calling it, is going to stop a lot of that exposure coming in. However, you can see today, you know, even with the weather we have today, that, you know, there's a little bit of swell coming in, isn't there? You know, it's not all calm and collected as you might think. So I'm hoping we will see some decent examples today of overfalls and races as we go around the island. A lot of people doing the circumnavigation will stop here because it's kind of like your last stop before you have to go around Carmel Head. Oh gosh, after my 2 weeks holiday, I'm a little out of shape, aren't I? Know whether where we've parked here is in the paying display area or not, so better to be safe than sorry. I've bought £1 for an hour, which should give me enough time to get up to North Stack and back, or I'm hoping that it is anyway. So let's get the bike out, let's get the shoes on, and let's go up there. Right, change of plan. The trainers are on, and we're going to walk up. I just took the bike and it was way too steep. I mean, I don't even know if we can get up this way walking, but we're going to give it a try. We've left ourselves about 40, maybe 50 minutes to get up there and back, and it's about an 800 metre walk, but a lot of it is uphill, and I don't know how uphill until we find out. Right, we're almost there. I think we're at the spot where we need to be to have a look at some waves and overfalls. One thing's for sure, the drone won't be coming out. I just sort of relaunched the drone again, and you can see as we've come from behind the rocks and this little rock face here, we're getting the full brunt of the northwesterly now. Whoa, this is steep. I'm glad I didn't bring that bike. I don't know if you can see that, but that is South Stack, I think, and that is a race. Wind over tide, and already where these races are forming, look at that. So there you go, you can just see the little hut at the bottom, at the end of North Stack, and here is North Stack. We don't even need to go to South Stack, which is the lighthouse there, to see where the brunt of this race or overfalls is forming. But one thing we can also see is this inner passage here, which, yeah, I mean, just doesn't have any confused sea in it at all. Now you can come quite close in here. Well, you can certainly come close enough in to be way avoiding the overfalls at South Stack there. But the other scary thing about this is look how far out they go. They go right out there, and then look, they kind of come all around, and then here's the ones that you would maybe call North Stack. So I'm going to get a bit closer for you. You know, it's not perfect, look at those waves there, but if they're not breaking, you've got a good chance of getting through here, I would say. And if we take it at slack, then yeah, nothing to worry about. Now the pilotage says once you're past here, it's pretty plain sailing, and you can see, yes, I mean these overfalls here, even if you went straight through those, I don't think there'd be much to worry about in a Drascombe lugger. In a bigger boat, I don't think there'd be anything to worry about. Yeah, it's windy today. The wind down by the sea, probably a little bit less windy than up here. We're quite high up here and very exposed, taking only temporary shelter when you sort of get sneak behind the rocks like that, but then whoosh, here we are again. So we're walking back now. This is the North Shore. Despite the wind over tide, the strong wind, there's no overfalls here. Ferries are still in, and no flashing lights, so it'll be all systems go. I would not want to be sailing around North Stack straight into this northwesterly. Wow.
We make our way back down the hill and suddenly notice something.
Aha! A ferry left. I'm putting you up on the stick because we are going downhill fast and I can't find a spot to see. Now, one thing I noticed, that ferry's only just speeding up, so she doesn't come out there too much like a bat out of hell. I don't know if that's the fast ferry or not, but you know, that one looks like a cruise ship, doesn't it, over there, rather. But, and I didn't see the light flashing, but you can see how clearly you can see those boats. So I think from when the boat goes, well, I think between checking the timetable, so you know when the ferries are supposed to be coming in and going, seeing that light, double checking with there's a channel here you can monitor for ferry times. And you know, if you're unsure, I'm pretty sure you can just contact the Coast Guard or whoever and ask. Seeing the ferry, you know, I think you've got, you know, that's something else that has scared me is, oh my God, you know, I thought I'd be making a commitment to get round the end of the breakwater and the ferry would suddenly whiz off and she'd be on me, you know, in 30 seconds and all panic would ensue. Sorry, I'm negotiating a particularly steep and jagged section here. But, you know, there's another thing. Look, that ferry's only just there now. And look where she goes. So you could sail right up to where the end of the breakwater is, you know, and stand off just there. Yeah, we're just back in time. Ooh, 5 minutes to spare. Oh, it's tight. And gosh, I'm parched. I want to get us around as many places as I can at the right time. So, we're going to get on to our next stop, which will be South Stack. So I just checked the tide tables and Holyhead slack water, or should I say low water slack, it's about 7:45 today. So we are now at about 9:30, so we're kind of an hour and more than an hour into the flood tide now, so it will be interesting. It was interesting to see those overfalls that may be nearer to slack water than we realised, but we're here now. Let's have a look, see what we can see. I've got, I think it's Andy Biggs's kayaking book, and kayaking books actually extremely useful for dinghy sailors because they give you they give you a much more real, raw experience that a dinghy sailor is probably likely to get. The problem with sailing pilotage books, good that a lot of them are, is that they tend to be aimed at, you know, proper big boats. So, you know, let me give you an example of that. There's the races we were seeing from North Stack. Look at this here. Now, if you're in a 30-foot sailing boat, you can't sail into here. It's just too dangerous. It's just, you know, if you're a dinghy, of course you can. You can go in there, no trouble at all, you know. Just be careful. But let's have a look at these overfalls now. So what can we tell from here? This is the main bulk of them, isn't it? This is what they talk about. And you can see this whole area is just kind of overfally with these really bad bits. Now, this is wind over tide. If that is wind over tide after what, no more than an hour, then I dread to think what they are in an hour's time. And again, you can see here they're clear. We're clear largely, a few white horses. And then, you know, they kind of start, and you can see them, you may be able to see them going right out here. I would think on a mid-tide here, especially on a spring, these are going to be roaring, aren't they? My God. And just to put your mind at rest about the ferries as well, see the ferry we saw leave earlier, it's there. So that's how long, about 20 minutes it's taken for that ferry to get there, maybe more. So you get plenty of warning. I think this is a good place to just stop and have a look at this cove. I forget what this part of the cove is, but you do get, oh look at that, there's like an eagle or something there. But you can see how, despite, look at those gusts on the water, but look how calm that is. There's no overfalls here at all. The only thing I would worry about here so far is just getting around here, and you see this little patch here. We've already seen at North Stack, you know, there wasn't much going on. I think that may have been closer to slack than we thought though, but it wasn't slack. But we would be aiming to get here not only at slack, but a little bit before, like an hour before low water slack here. So actually, if that's the best time to pass, and this is more than 2 hours later, then, you know, I'd take that. Look at that, that's not bad at all. You can just feel the force, kind of the tide running along there. But yeah, you know, I'm pretty sure there's nothing a lugger can't deal with for sure there. And I think if you were to go over there, unfortunately we can't really see round here, but I'm pretty sure there's probably an inner passage, and the pilotage says you can go right up to the cliffs here. So again, yeah, stay away from there, but here is okay. The other thing I would say is that just looks confused. You can also see some inner eddies, some different currents coming here as well. That is standing waves. I mean, look at some of those. You could surf on those. Look at those breaking. So, next stop, we'll try and get to Penrhyn Mawr and have a look what's going on there. We're here, we're as close as we can get. And we're near a place called The Range, and you can see there's some information about it here. And where we want to go is Penrhyn Mawr. So you can see from there's the lighthouse, we're now over here. And Penrhyn Mawr is somewhere over there. So do I get the bike out and have a little cycle? Maybe, it'd be fun, wouldn't it? And we'll see if we can get as close to the coast as we can and try and cop a look at some of these overfalls that these kayakers love. So over here, you can hardly feel the wind at all. There's almost no wind here because this whole headland, if we look that way, is just blocking this northwesterly. Oh God, trying to stop with one hand then. So this over here, however, is Trailer Bay, which, if you watch my previous attempt to go around Anglesey, ended in a place called Port Diana, where there's a lovely dinghy club who let us haul out there, and that's hidden, snuck away. Let me try and stop again and show you. I mean, the sun's in the wrong spot, but that is Trailer Bay, and you might just be able to make out a little gap in the rocks there. I think if you go through there, that's to where Port Diana is. Well, we needn't to worried because those look like races or stroke overfalls to me out there, and they look like pretty decent ones. Now, two things I can tell from here, I think. First of all, they are very, very, well, they're in one little spot, aren't they? They would be quite easy to avoid, wouldn't they? Second though, if you look at the leftmost area, I don't know if you can see that, but they might be like a little spit there and a little bit here, you got a little bit over there, so they may come round a bit further than you think. Now, there's an inner and an outer set of races here, and we can't see over this hill here at the moment, so we're gonna either have to get the drone up, or I think what we'll do, we'll cycle round here and we'll try and get a little bit closer to where those ones are, so we've got a fuller view of the whole coastline down here. If you ever wanted confirmation that we are running a decent tide now, look at this here. I mean, good grief, that's running, I don't know what that is, 4+ knots though. And if you look over there, there they are. Gosh, they're quite fearsome, to be honest with you. I wouldn't fancy that. But everywhere else is smooth. Everywhere else is smooth. But there is some more around there. But I think if we sneak over there, we could maybe get the drone up and have a closer look at them. Okay, wow. Here we are. I just want to be careful. There we go. Look at that coming through. Wow. I wonder if this is the inner. I think it is. We'll have to check the pilotage in the kayak handbook, but this looks distinctly like somewhere, looks like the Swellies, this does. I mean, if you're a kayaker, look at that. And then there's, maybe that's the middle, but there's a lot of rocks there. And then there's outer here, but I mean, if you're in a boat, I mean, we just sail, what's that? It's not even half a nautical mile. We just sail half a nautical mile out and we stay out of the way. And then look, the remnants of it are here and it's sort of gone by the time we get around. So let's get the drone out, see if we can get some nice shots of this.
This inner section with the fast moving water isn't the inner race, it's just the inner section, and it's just totally unsuitable for anything other than a kayak, or a seal if you call that. Just look at the power of that water. So here we're moving out of that inner channel. You'll see that there is an inner race and then further out an outer race. And these are the two races that are probably the ones we've got to be mindful of.
Oh, we're back. Gosh, I didn't realise how far we'd gone. And then of course it's all uphill on the way back. But finally, when you turn the corner, I came back this way. And we got to push up the hill, so it wasn't so bad in the end. But yeah, I also met a guy down there, had a really interesting chat, as I always do with these guys. He's a fisherman. He was telling me all about the races here and how they're not to worry about. He said there's always a passage through, but obviously he said today, mid-tide, you know, a little bit tasty, aren't they? But anyway, those, nothing to worry about. Next stop, we're going to do, I think we're off to Carmel Head, and we'll hopefully get Carmel Head mid-tide. So without any further ado, I'm going to get myself off there because we are on a clock with the tide, as we always are. Well, this is Carmel Head, or that is over there. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to take the bike up this track. This kind gentleman here has just told me, you know, where it can go, but there's another track up there that may be better. So we'll try this one, see if we can get through, see what we can find. But as I came over the brow here, I could already see overfalls on the side over here and down the side here. So, you know, should be about mid-tide now with strong wind over tide. So what we're going to get today is probably the worst we'll get when sailing. So let's get on the bike and let's get out there. Oh, that was one hell of a ride. I'm getting my fitness in today, that's one thing for sure. No go, the path stops really, and it can only be navigated on foot, and it goes over this archway, and there's no way I could have gone. It's still quite a while. So this guy has just told me to go to another place where there should be a footpath out actually to Carmel Head. We just need a glimpse of the north coast really, that's the main thing. Right, we're near a place called Henfellin, which is actually what the guy told me to stay, and he said there's 3 spaces by the cottages and you can actually cycle through the cottages. So I've actually noticed there are footpath signs there, so we're going to get the bike out, try again. So I just went up there and I got chased by a dog. Only a little one, but a dog all the same, so I sort of whizzed back. It seems to have gone off now. The thing I have noticed is we can see Middlemouse from over here. So looking at the map, where is Middlemouse? There. Oh no, that's Westmouse. We can see there. So I'm thinking we're going to have to try and do our best from the van, because cycling in these little lanes is proving to be a bit of a challenge. Now, the good news is it does look like on the map we can get round a lot closer to the coastline on Middlemouse with a road. So let's go and do that. I think Carmel Head, sorry, not Kemlyn Head. Carmel Head is not going to be an option today. Where are we? The Maes Brinaber. So we're near Trin Kemlyn. This is almost, is this Kemlyn Bay? Maybe Kemlyn Bay, yeah. So we're going to try and get out onto the peninsula. I'm looking at you as I'm talking to this, the castle, as close to the coast as we can, and just see what we can see. So let's get on the bike and try again. So this is a good spot to stay and get a little bit of information. Now, over there is Carmel Head. So we've not been able to see Carmel Head today. Let's try and get the sun the right side of me. But, you know, c'est la vie. I just can't get to it. And I think I need a lot more time to take a walk to it as well. There, though, is the Skerries. Now, it's about midday, so we should be, I mean, Holyhead was 7:45. Here's a little bit later first, so we are well into the tide. We're mid-tide, if anything, and we're wind over tide, and the wind is nowhere near what it was, but we've still got a little bit of action. I'll show you over there in a minute. But you can see the Skerries over there. In front of the Skerries, not this rock here, but it's got a little pillar on it. That's Westmouse. And then if you look at this part of the coast, you can't really see any races or overfalls going on there, really. I mean, you know, and nothing here until we get, there's the south, I think that's the south cardinal mark, which is charted. And here we go. Now, Middlemouse is just over there. We're at Kemlyn Bay here, by the way. And there's the green marker, and look at the races there. Now, a couple of things I'd say about that. There's another marker out there, and it looks like a cardinal, but I can't quite make it out. But, you know, I think coming on an inner passage here would be fairly risky. It's quite close in, isn't it? Let's go and walk over there and have a look. So what do you reckon? There is an inner passage, isn't there? There's definitely enough depth for a dinghy. But I've got to look at the pilotage. I think further out, they don't look too bad. And you know, if you come up Westmouse, aim for the cardinal and then aim for the green marker, I think you're going to circumvent most of that. From there on, I can't see anything. The tide can sometimes be 4 or 5 knots here, and that's how people get from Holyhead all the way round to like Mulfra or Red Wolf Bay in one sail, you know, on one tide, because you can really motor here. This is the bay. Obviously, you get in there, and that's the power station, I think. It's like a blot on the landscape, isn't it? But I guess we all need power. But you can see how sheltered this bay is, even in a northerly, which is interesting, isn't it? Let's see if we can get a better look at this stretch of the coastline now. This is as far as we can go. I didn't see this, so I had to actually reverse about 100 metres. But I stopped here because, and by the way, this is Point Lynas on the end there. I thought we'd come down here and have a little look, see what we could see. This is nice. There's a little cove here. Really worth knowing this. I didn't know this existed. Nice anchorage. And that's Port Lynas up there. I think we're going to get the bike out and we'll cycle up there because this is going to be our last stop. Right, here we are. Point Lynas on this whistle stop tour of Anglesey. And I've come over to the east side first because we're running out of tide. We're getting close to high water slack now. So I wanted to have a look at these, which are the overfalls, look, that people talk about, that actually are on the east side, aren't they, of the tip? It's gone 1 o'clock now, high tide, low tide would here, we have good 5 hours, I would say. So we're coming over the tip, over the end here. We'll have a look what's out there too. Here we are, look. But let's go down here and have a closer look at these ones. Now look at these brutes. So you can see where the colour changes. Literally, there's this lighter browner blue strip, and then beyond that is darker blue. And the races here pretty much are in this section here. So I think these are easily circumnavigated. I mean, they do go out a little bit out there, but I mean, there's nothing to shout home about, really. I mean, they are quite big, some of these waves, aren't they? and the breaking ones are the worrying ones. But I mean, if you go out beyond them, I think it's going to be a much better ride and then round, and then from this point you would head almost south to Mulfra or Red Wolf Bay, or you could point straight across to Puffin Island and then take in the Sound, which is where we're going to go next. So yeah, I don't know what to make of that. On southerly winds, where this would be sheltered, you've got, you know, I'd be interested to see what that looked like then, because I don't think there would be anything there on a southwesterly. So another reason why you would take a southwesterly wind, have no problems. Northerly, and even worse now, because it's northeasterly really now. And look, you've got a little bit of a confused, nasty sea there. And there you can see Puffin Island in the distance. So let's go over and look westward now, just see what we can make out with Middlemouse. I think the best way to do that is to go back up here. So here's looking west. You see the power station there, Middlemouse, right in the middle there. And quite frankly, there's nothing. Oop, there's a wasp. Nothing at all. You can sail in here, come across. This sea looks relatively calm. Now, there is, yeah, a few races I can see outside of Middlemouse. Just the tickle, which, you know, a couple of hours ago may have been a little bit bigger. The other thing we've got to consider now is like the wind has dropped. We've got a northeasterly, not northwest, and it's sort of veered a little. So, you know, it's not quite what it was. But even so, it's nice to have a little marker for next, you know, when we're next out there. Right, hopefully my bike's still where I left it. We've got one last stop to make, maybe two, I don't know if we've got time to. But one we don't really need to do, that's the Swellies, because we've been through those. And having said that, we might catch them at the right time now. But maybe we'll try the Swellies, see what they look like. But where I want to go next is Puffin Sound, and we're going to try and see if we can get some nice footage there. Now, interestingly, I don't want to see Puffin Sound at mid-tide. I want to see it at slack to see, because I know what it looks like when we go through there and it's a bit rough. But it would be nice to see it nice and flat at high water. So we're going to go back to the van now. I'm going to check the tides again. We're going to be off to Puffin. We got to 1.5 miles away from Puffin Sound, or where we can actually view it, and you can either go there and it's still sort of 750 metres away and it's £7.50 for the toll road, or you can park just there. It's 1.5 miles on the bike and it's £7.50 to park. So I'm not paying £7.50 for a toll road, that's ridiculous. I don't pay that for the M6. So we're just at the entrance of the Menai. So if you look up there, you'll just see Puffin Island. You can just see it peeping out from behind the last part of Angelsey, sorry. And this is where the Menai starts. You can see the buoyage there. And you can actually see, look at these two canoers. They haven't got much in the way of help from the tide. So we're definitely at high water slack here, if not turned a little now. So what I thought I might do is, if I can get my drone out a little bit, I might be able to get a little look at the Sound. I've got to keep the drone in view though, so I don't know if I will, but we'll try it anyway.
So here's Puffin Sound from the air, and you can clearly see the channel that's marked by the lighthouse and the red buoy. The sea here's not flat. We are about an hour away from slack water, but you can clearly see there are waves and a little bit of grumbly water there. Compared to last time when we came through here wind over tide, at mid-tide, these are nothing. So I wouldn't be concerned sailing through here at all.
Just stop in here very briefly. Firstly, because we've got a telehandler blocking the road, but secondly, we can have a quick look at the Swellies just as the last thing. So here's this is the second bridge, yeah. So this is the Swellies here. You can see how fast it's running, but you can also see it's not high water here at all, and there's not much going on. A little bit like before, you know, just to show that mid-neap stroke springs at the wrong time, and the Swellies isn't, well, there's a rush of water going through there, but it's not the rapids. I've just pulled up. So that concludes our little trip today. It's been a whole day, 5 in the morning, it's nearly 4 o'clock in the afternoon now, and I am knackered. I think I've cycled like the Tour de France today. I've walked everywhere, and I hope this helps the novice, you know, that's what it was for. To go out there and show you that even when it does get a bit scary, there's ways around or ways under or through, and it shouldn't be as scary as you actually think. So if you plan, you get your tides right, you get your wind right, then it's not going to be as bad as you first thought. So get out there and give it a go. Right, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.